Welcome to Curse Breakers, where we leverage astrology to empower you. I'm Jacki Smith, and I'm here with my co-host and chief astrologer, Storm Sestavani. Hi, Storm.
Hey, what's up?
You know, we're rolling into the end of this insanity of the election season. But before we go on, I just want to say that this show is sponsored by Coventry Creations, where they have magical solutions to your everyday issues. So I'm ready for this week to be complete.
To be done, over with.
But here's the thing. Storm and I, if you didn't know already, we live here in America. And
America.
And it is the election day in a couple of days. So we're going to go through this astrology. And it is nothing but election. I'm sure anyone in any other country can feel our pain, but this election is hugely contentious, very, very close. And it's, for me, yes, it's about the candidates, et cetera, et cetera. I have where I want to go with this, which I'm not going to talk politics. But what I'm going to talk is people are in frozen mode.
Right.
It's affecting sales. It's affecting people going out. It's affecting interacting with family and friends. It's affecting so much. And I honestly don't think we're going to get an answer until at earliest the next Monday.
The next Monday. I'm thinking the next Saturday, but.
So more than like 2 weeks later?
No. The Saturday, November the 9th. And I think we may have a decision then, or a full, where the media, whoever are in those little back rooms. I mean, it's always a mystery, but whoever's in those back rooms that, when the AP finally comes out and says, this is the president-elect, I think that will probably be Saturday. And the reason I think that is because it's so close, Jacki, and so contentious and a margin of error election that they may have to wait for those ballots to come in from the military.
100%. So,
and they have 9 days to get their ballots in, by the way.
Correct. That's why I think at the earliest it's going to be, that next Monday, which would be the 11th is earliest, because they're already, there's a lot of lawsuits already being prepared, and there's going to be lots of recounts.
Hopefully it's not election 2000 again, where we did not find out who won the presidency until December.
Yes. I think we learned a lot from that, but no one's going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? No one is going to be saying, okay, you win. It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
So, okay, before we get down that rabbit hole, besides the election, this is a big week.
It's a pretty big week, and I think that it's important because there's not an enormous amount that happens this week. The VIP of the week is the moon.
Okay.
And when you have the VIP as the moon, and basically the reason why I chose the moon as the VIP is we go through Tuesday and Wednesday with the moon in Capricorn, Thursday and Friday with the moon in Aquarius, and Sunday, I believe that it's Sunday. Yeah, Sunday with the moon in Pisces. That's the only action that's happening. Okay, there is the sun is in trine to Saturn on Monday.
And of course, the moon's in Sagittarius, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
The moon is in Sagittarius, but the sun is in trine to Saturn, which is going to be the major energy on Monday. And then on Saturday, Venus is in square to Neptune. And that's it.
So if there was an overarching, because we're the curse breakers, if there is an overarching energy that our listeners could dive into to work on, say, one big thing.
The curse of denial.
Mm-hmm. Of course, that's very funny because it's the election week.
Yeah, it's the curse of denial. And it doesn't surprise me. And the reason I think it's the curse of denial, Jacki, is the moon in Capricorn and the moon in Aquarius. They're very, very detached when it comes to emotions. one of the things that I tell people when I teach astrology is think of the signs as the clothes that the planet is wearing. So in this case, it's the moon. It's our emotions, our sense of connection to our body. It's the day-to-day flow of life energy. Think of what those clothes would look like if they're Capricornian clothes. So with Capricornian clothes, it's going to be, farmer gear. When you think of clothes, it's going to be either somebody that's in like a military garb, Jacki, or a power work suit, or, their farmer gear if they're a farmer, or, their uniform. Basically.
Their uniforms, their work attire.
Their work uniforms.
Yeah.
The moon in Capricorn doesn't like to express things emotionally all that well. I know I own one. And
as
Jacki
does my husband.
Yes, and your husband. And Jacki, you know both of us very, very well. And you know that the moment that both of us become emotionally flummoxed, what do? We work.
Yes, you work and you shut that shit down.
Yes, we work and we shut that shit down. Nobody wants to deal with that. And then the moon in Aquarius, now think of the moon dressed in an alien space outfit. It's this extreme type of energy. And when you think about Aquarius doesn't like the body in general. The body is not perfect. And Aquarius has this vision of life that has to do with idealization and perfection. What could be? How do we make this better? How do we progress this? It doesn't like imperfection in the least. And even the god Uranus, which is, the co-ruler of Aquarius, even he, Jacki, did not like his children, fleshy children, so much that he shoved them into the underworld. So Aquarius would, when it comes to emotions,
so fleshy.
Yeah, so fleshy. It doesn't like that. And the moon is all flesh. Okay, so it doesn't like those emotions.
Sidebar.
Right.
Sidebar. So I've been listening to this podcast that's on YouTube called Y Files. And there's
he has like
WHY. And I'm really enjoying them because it's all like weirdo paranormal conspiracy theory stuff.
Right.
And this one shorter story that I was listening to, I haven't listened to the whole episode, about how the moon is an empty spaceship from another part of the world, and how all the different reasons why scientists are proving that they don't know how the moon came to be. It doesn't make any sense that we have a moon. It doesn't match us. It's weird.
The interesting thing to kind of push against that, Jacki, is that they do know that the moon, if you put it on the planet Earth, fits exactly in our Pacific Ocean.
Interesting, because they were saying that one of the theories is that the moon is fractured from the Earth, blah, blah, blah. But they're saying that the minerals don't match.
Right.
That the moon is much older than the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
It's probably, most likely with the moon, how the moon came to be, is that some asteroid, or whether you want to call it an asteroid or a dwarf planet or whatever, kind of came swinging by, got trapped in our gravitational pull and started swinging around the Earth and said, okay, I guess I'll stay.
I don't know enough about astrophysics to comment on any of it. I just was like laughing as I'm listening to this podcast, laughing in delight because
you knew the VIP was going to be the moon.
Yeah. Well, that too, but laughing in a way of like, I'm really enjoying this complete departure from reality as I'm listening to this, because I've been looking for another good book. I haven't found one. So this is my new departure from reality. Everyone's got to have something they change their channel with, right?
Right.
And so just like when I read a sci-fi or a romantasy book, I don't believe that it's
What
true.
What is a romantasy book?
Fantasy romance.
Okay. I just read books like Hera.
Like the sexy werewolves or the sexy vampires. Romantasy. Because none of that's real.
None of it's real.
Hey,
which is probably why I read books like Clytemnestra, Hera.
Yeah, I know.
Medusa,
You are very much more the intellectual than I. I like watch things and take it all in and go, Hey, have you been, another sidebar little entertainment thing, have you been watching Agatha All Along?
No.
All right, we'll have to talk later.
It's in my queue to watch.
Are you waiting so you can binge it?
Actually, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still waiting to get through 22 seasons of Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my God. I just started watching that.
22 seasons. And I was like, I hope I get done with this by the time I'm dead.
So I just started.
Yeah.
I finished all of the Good Wife, the Good Fight, and I've caught up on all the Elsbeth. So that whole trifecta.
You'll
of
love
shows.
Grey's Anatomy in private practice. I mean,
Well,
that's a
so
spin-off show.
I've been watching. I just started watching Grey's Anatomy, and I'm like, I'm crying every episode. And then I went, that might be good for me.
Yeah.
That might
I
be
love
really
Grey's
good
Anatomy. I mean, it's just like, it's one of those things I do on the treadmill. It's Grey's Anatomy.
Well, I like that idea. Okay, so back to our astrology
Back
for
to
the week.
moon.
Back to the moon, because all of our conversation was very moon-like.
Yes.
Right?
The interesting thing with the moon, Jacki, and it's a planet I don't think, now we call it a planet in astrology, it's really a luminary, but for some simplicity, we call it a planet.
Right.
It's one that doesn't get an enormous amount of attention. And I think that is because we live in a solar world, okay, that is concerned about city-states and society building and not necessarily concerned about farms.
Yeah.
Although I am concerned about what grows on farms, but we're not really an agricultural society anymore. So the moon has kind of taken this back seat. And also,
except if you're a witch.
Unless if you're a witch. And then, we switched from a calendar that became a Julian calendar, which is based upon the sun. And if you think about what the general population knows about astrology, is that if you go out into the street, Jacki, and you just hold up your little microphone and you just watch all the people that are moving through Detroit, and you just stop one and say, what's your sign? They're always going to tell you your sun sign. And most likely everybody knows it. And that's what we're conditioned to.
And I'm not hitting on you when I ask that.
Yeah. She's not hitting on you. And she may be doing that this afternoon. So if you respond with stop, she might give you a candle. But basically the moon is so important, Jacki, because the sun goes around all the 12 signs in a year, which tells us our primary focus during a season. Like right now we're in Scorpio season. And even the sun's, I kind of caused this, by the way. Even though that the sun, I caused it during Keep It Magic, when I started referring to when we're in a zodiac sign as a season, and now everybody's doing it. But we actually have little seasons each month, because the moon moves through all those signs in 29 days. So, which also corresponds with like the menstrual cycle. It corresponds with the functions of the body. It corresponds with the new and the full moon.
I was just reading about how our circadian cycle follows the moon a bit too. It can reset. I didn't read all of it. It might have been a headline, so I need to read more.
And I think that especially this week, Jacki, because I think that a lot of nerves are going to be frayed and people are going to be very much on edge this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the moon is really the time to listen to what our body is telling us, more so than any other time. If you're not feeling it, take a little bit of time to rest and relax, or try to get some small amount of me time. I need some of that today, so I'm taking an hour to do meditation books.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I'm doing meditation books. Got a whole stack.
Yeah, that me time used to be at 5 a.m, but I've not been getting up lately. So I need more me sleep time.
Yeah, you need to get up with the damn moon, girl.
So the moon, which really influences our emotions. And this week, we're really going to be flowing with the moon emotionally. We're really going to be.
I think we're going to be avoiding the moon emotionally, which is why I think that the curse is the curse of denial. Okay. I think that, Jacki, what people are going to run to while the moon is in Capricorn and the moon is in Aquarius, because if you look at them, and that happens we'll come back to Monday, that happens on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Okay, so we have that big from election day straight through Friday. Okay, we don't have any planetary aspects during those times. The only thing we have is the moon moving. If you look at it, Jacki, if you look at what are the obstacles on those days, the obstacle while the moon is in Capricorn is detachment and excessive focus on work. I do that so well.
Huh?
On Thursday and Friday, you may feel detached emotionally and have a hard time connecting with others. Your ideas may be scattered,
so
and without clear focus, right?
You're down and in. You're down and in emotionally, and then that's when we build those crazy ass stories.
Right. So, when the moon is in Capricorn and you're sitting at your desk working, the whole world may be exploding around you. Do you care? No, it's not I need to get this project done. It's the things that we need to do to survive what is going on around us is the positive aspect of it. Okay. The negative aspect of it is everything else goes to hell in a handbasket. So, which is why productively on those days, I think that with both of them, you really need to focus on, especially when the moon is in Capricorn, focus on self-care. What do you need to do? What do you need to give you? I also feel that it's a time to get things done, but to make sure that you're not doing it at the expense of yourself. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yes, because if you're not refilling your own cup, if you're
Right.
only down and in and you're not taking care of those other things, some of them, not just always taking care of like the life authority, responsibility things, but taking care of the things that feed your soul.
Right.
Yeah.
It,
You know,
Go
what
ahead.
the moon in Capricorn reminds me of? Survival mode.
In many ways, it is. It is that. I hate. Do you know what a prepper is?
Mm-hmm. It's not H, but somebody who's prepping for the end of the world. Which again, on that one podcast I'm listening to, he went in there, and I'm like, oh, I might be a prepper now.
I'm married to a prepper.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about you. Yeah.
We were actually last night, he was on Amazon and looking at these kits. They're about $100 each, Jackie, but basically they're meal kits in case the end of the world happens. And, he's really anxious at the moment with everything. So he was like, maybe we should order some of these. Do you think we can get them by next Wednesday? That was his response. And I was
Amazon
like, yeah.
Prime.
I have Amazon Prime. We'll get it by next Wednesday. Don't worry. I'll probably get it on Tuesday, the latest. So he was like, we need to get this and we need to get this and we need to get this. And I was like, I don't have the room for all this stuff. It's crazy. I have one condo. But yeah, it's kind of that prepper mentality of doing what it is that I need to do to survive.
Did I tell you about personal aha moment for myself about staying in survival mode?
No.
When you're in survival mode, because I might be kind of stuck there myself at times. When you're in survival mode, your cup is empty and you're looking for someone else to fill it. And when you can get out of that mode by gratitude, confidence, self-care, you start refilling your own cup.
Right.
And you're the only person who can fill your cup, because anyone else filling it is going to be poison to you.
And I think that the anxiety that's going to come this week, Jackie, is, and we'll be talking about it in depth next week, but Saturn is going to turn direct in Pisces next Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, Saturn.
Thank God.
Saturn in Pisces is why, if you listen to people's conversations closely, so try to do that over the next week, Jackie. Listen to the conversations closely. Because with Saturn in Pisces, there is a tendency for us to seek a redeemer. Somebody because Pisces is kind of this, I need redemption. Life needs to be redeemed in some way.
Okay.
And so Saturn in Pisces, and I think that we've been seeing this for the past couple of years. And I think that this is probably the issue with both sides of the political spectrum, is that many of them are not looking at what it is that they can do to change their own lives. They're seeking somebody else, some form of a redemptive type of figure, whether that redemptive figure be Donald Trump or Kamala Harris or, God forbid, Jill Stein. But, they've thrown all of their particular ills, all of the problems in the world, and projected them onto these figures that are going to fix them.
Yeah.
And then I think that the problem I think that we have is that because of the fact of the way that our government is structured, is that anybody going into office, whether it be Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, okay, and in about 90-something days, Jackie, one of those two people are going to be sitting behind the Oval Desk. They're never going to be able to do things as perfectly as that Piscean vision is. So I think that a lot of what is going on here, what is feeding into a lot of this stuff, is that need to find something out there that's going to fix us. Whereas what the astrology is stating right now, and if you look at how the astrology of this week is mapping out, on Monday, which we'll go back to Monday now, the sun is in trine to Saturn. This is a day that's about doing what it is that you can do to get your life together.
You got one day.
Okay. Well, actually, you have 3 because the moon in Capricorn also is the same type of energy.
So you have 3 days.
It's a very similar energy.
Get
it's
it
time
together.
to focus on productivity. How do you get yourself more disciplined? What are your desires? And what action plan do you have to get your desires to happen? And your action plan can't be, well, when Donald Trump wins the presidency, I'm going to feel better about my life. What are you going to do? That's what Sun and trine to Saturn says. It isn't, oh, Kamala Harris is going to tax the rich and the middle class will get a tax cut. Ideologically, that's not going to fix your problems now. Okay, it may fix your problems in 2 years. It's not going to fix your problems now. But what can you do? What structured action can you take?
Interesting. I was thinking Monday, November 4th. What's going on with that day? What's going on? I have scheduled a mind mapping day with a professional who's what we're going to do is we're going to look at outdated thought processes and what's blocking me and stuff like that. I'm like, that's a great day for that.
And I think, Jacki, that the best thing for you to do also that day, and one of the things to talk to this mind mapping person about, is to let them know when you're going into this, not only do you want the mind mapping, but you need an action plan.
Yes, that's one of the things I loved about her. And I said, let's do this.
Yeah, so that you can take structured action. Because as we move into Tuesday and Wednesday, it's skip the shortcuts. Throughout all the shortcuts, you can't use the shortcuts. Do the work, set the boundaries, and work on your to-do list. It's not a time for procrastination. You need to look at things this week in a way that Thursday may not even happen. Okay. But that's the way to approach this.
Okay.
Is in this is what we need to do. And this is how we use astrology, because I really feel, Jacki, that astrology reveals how to work on our plan, our lives, direct our focus, and even warns us of the obstacles and how to overcome them. Okay. It gives us the map.
I agree, because I love our calendar. By the way, you can subscribe to the Curse Breakers astrology calendar. In the show notes, wherever you're listening, there's a place to subscribe. I look at that every day, and I look at it for what's going on today, reminding myself, and then, okay, what is tomorrow going to be like? And I start setting my plan. It is handy, sir. Very handy.
It's very handy. And then as we move into Thursday and Friday, Jacki, which the moon is in Aquarius at that time, that's a great time for collaborations, big ideas, for you to look at how you're going to progress yourself forward. It may be a day when we need to really look at community issues and need to brainstorm, say, for example, that the election is called on Wednesday. Let's say somebody wins. Maybe there's a landslide. We don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Maybe there is a huge landslide and we know who the president is going to be in the United States. And then therefore, whoever the president is, whether it is Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, we now need to begin to scan, how are we going to move forward with this? Because it's going to be 2 different approaches, no matter which way it is. So the astrology is giving us how we need to deal with this. And even if on Thursday and Friday, because the moon in Aquarius can also be very scattered, Jacki, there's so many ideas that start floating through.
Yeah.
Write them down regardless. Write them down. You may not have come to a solution, but just write them down. Okay.
It's brainstorming time. It's not final plan time.
Right. That would be more when the moon moves into Aries, but which is next week.
Final destination.
Yeah, the final destination. Exactly. And then, so just to give a little bit of recommendations here for Monday, as a candle recommendation, I used stability.
For the Sun and Scorpio, trining Saturn and Pisces.
Yes. Pisces. It's to help to ground and stabilize the energy and help people stay productive and focused.
Right.
And then also obsidian.
I like that. So people think obsidian is just a protection stone, but it's very grounding in its protection. So stabilizes, and it stabilizes your mind.
I use obsidian a lot, Jackie, when my mind is going all over the place. I will put like an obsidian palm stone in my left hand while I'm doing stuff to try to remain focused.
And snowflake obsidian does that, but what it does is it blocks influence from other people so you can get into your own mind.
Right, that's definitely a great idea. Then
yeah, but I love obsidian for this. Yep.
Then when the moon is in Capricorn on Tuesday and Wednesday, I actually chose the success candle.
Okay.
And the reason being is that I think that the success candle will help boost the Capricorn's energy of achievement and helping you complete your tasks and reach your goals, which is what Capricorn's about.
So yeah, it's going to really, it's like saying, I'm going to do this, so I'm going to put some jet packs on my back to get this done.
Now, one of the stones that came up in regards to working with the moon in Capricorn, Jackie, was garnet, but garnet is very pricey. So I looked around
there is a C grade garnet that you can get in a nice tumbled stone thing, but they're very small.
I don't want to hold something, Jackie, that I may lose, while I'm holding it. So I went towards black onyx instead.
Well, onyx isn't onyx volcanic?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, my Rolodex in my brain was shuffling until I found the right information. It's really interesting because it's started its life as fire, so that whole transformation, it was transformed through fire. So yeah, it's a very solid discipline, like lots of it had to go through a lot to get to where it is. And
so
I like
it has a lot of discipline.
And you know what was interesting is it protects from burnout. And so since it's volcanic, I mean, it is burnout. It did it for you.
And then as we move into Thursday and Friday with the moon being in Aquarius, Jackie, I chose for the candle Need a Change. And I think that helps to remove all of the stagnant energy and invites innovative solutions, basically. I use it for that purpose myself.
That flow, depending on what's going on in the world, the Need a Change candle floats to either in our top 20% or our bottom 20%. It's interesting how that floats. And right now it's in the top because people are feeling the need for this change.
Okay, now I have a question to ask you.
Yes.
So when life is going good and we can all go out into the backyard and pull a $20 bill off of the tree, Need a Change doesn't sell no more, right?
It doesn't sell as fast. When that's happening, we sell more happy home, more meditation, more blessing type candles to keep the blessings going, more candles that would maybe steer into, and a lot more love candles at that point. Because when, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is when you're like, okay, things are stable.
Now you're thinking about your body parts.
Yeah. I'm ready for love. But right now, it's so funny. If you look at our top candles, it's like money draw protection, prosperity protection.
Mm-hmm. And the stone recommendation is I used amethyst because I think that amethyst is this very Aquarius forward thinking type of energy.
Amethyst is like everyone's first stone.
That's because it's so pretty.
And it's so happy. It's so supportive. Yeah, it's just like that loving energy, divine energy. Everybody gets an amethyst. Is your first welcome to being witchy stone.
I will tell you now, remember, my husband is a prepper.
Mm-hmm.
And I have probably a 10-inch long amethyst wand. Okay, it's beautiful. Yes. I'll take a picture of it later and send it to you, Jackie.
I was really afraid of where you're going with that. So, okay.
So he looks at this wand, okay, and at the end it's kind of pointed. And do you know what he says?
It was dirty, wasn't it?
No. He says if somebody breaks in, he goes, you can definitely stab somebody with this.
Okay, so here's the difference between me and your husband. We don't have to go into it.
You read erotic novels.
I just went there for everyone without saying anything.
And he listens to Kentucky Ballistics. That's the difference.
Thank God you have both of us to keep a balance for you.
You're the two pendulums. The interesting thing is that as you were talking about, the candles, that when we're doing well as a society, Jackie, and things are flowing well in that survival area, that we begin looking for love, which is the perfect segue to Saturday, because Venus is going to square Neptune, which is looking for love in all the wrong places, which was a song from 1980, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, it was a long time ago, girl, and it feels like it was just yesterday. And I was like,
well, you know what? Okay, so let's talk about 1980. For me, I was in 1980. I was in junior high, so that's the. I mean, I was not aware of life and things. I mean, I graduated in 86, so
in my mind, I was not born yet.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like I'm a child of the 80s, yeah, but I really came into my power in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and do you know that people are trying to call me a boomer and my age? I'm like, no, I'm a Gen Xer. Please.
Yeah. I mean,
get it together.
They're trying to turn everybody older. I mean, Halsey is an amazing artist that we talked about during our Lilith episode, because she did a great rendition of Lilith. Was it 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
She just turned 30, but with her particular themes and stuff like that, and she now has a child. Somebody said, well, you're about to enter your 40s. And she goes, no, I'm still 29.
Have you noticed in like the different memes and stuff, they're saying Gen Z, millennial, boomer. And I'm like, wait a minute, you skipped one.
That's because we're if you think about it,
we're totally forgotten.
Gen X was the latchkey kids.
Forgotten about, yeah.
That were forgotten about while the parents were out having to work 2 jobs and 3 jobs and all this other stuff during the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
When trickle-down economics didn't trickle down to most people's wallets.
I know people were talking about how that worked. I'm like, for who?
Yeah, for who? Basically, that generation is lost. They're still lost. They're in the X-Files, girl.
Yeah.
They're an episode of X-Files.
Stop it. I still watch that.
Which I hear is being rebooted, but
I don't
that'll
know.
be interesting. I don't like reboots, actually. I really.
Well, so they did some modern episodes with David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. And as if they had a relationship, had a child, and then broke up. And I'm like, I don't, it was awkward.
Right.
I like Gillian Anderson in Sex Education. She's amazing in that.
I've never seen it.
It's hilarious. It's English.
Jackie, the difference between what you watch and what I watch is vastly different. I'm going to watch Troy or Clash of the Titans. You're going to watch,
Oh, you said Clash of the Titans, and then suddenly in my head is that little mechanical owl.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So when Venus is in square to Neptune, the issue in regards to Venus square Neptune, Jackie, is idealization. And I even looked up the word, because I think that with this aspect that there's a tendency to blur fantasy and reality, especially in relationships and financial matters. And there's a risk of idealizing situations. And then I said, you know what? I really need to think about this word idealization. And what it means is believing that something is perfect or better than it really is.
So when you're talking about your ideal,
mm-hmm.
you just know that you're talking about something that will always be better than what it really is.
Right. It's just like the movies that go off in your head about how things are supposed to happen are never as good as the reality. I mean, I remember that when I was like trying to lose my virginity. The fantasy of it was this perfect spellbinding episode of, I think, General Hospital.
And the reality was awkward.
The reality was more like an episode of Riverdale. So this is the curse of escapism.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? And I want to circle back to this once we're done with the week. I want to talk about some insights that I've gotten over this. Idealistic. What the purpose of idealism is. Yeah. So what
Let's
candle?
Move it. What candle with this one?
Yeah.
For Venus in square to Neptune, love's enchantment.
Okay. And why? Why do you think it's love's enchantment?
Because it helps balance romantic and creative energies while encouraging clarity in relationships.
Okay. I see that. Also, love's enchantment is first you have to become enchanted with yourself.
Right.
Which means that your self-esteem is coming up.
Right.
And you understand your value in the relationship. So that's that balancing. I like it. And the stone.
Both of our favorite, Labradorite.
I know. I love that. Some people call it spectralite. I feel that it's labradorite. I think
I
that's
think it's Labradorite. I'm just going to stick with that. And I like it's kind of like, it's got this very reptilian type of look about it.
there's always like a shine spot on it.
Yeah.
And here's since it's my favorite stone and I use it frequently, labradorite to me is a gateway into the Akashic records.
Mm-hmm.
So this is perfect for this because if you are going into the Akashic records, you're getting the big backstory. Like, why are you here? Why is this person in your life?
Don't
What
you have
is
a book on that?
I do. It's called DIY Akashic Wisdom,
Okay.
written by Jacki Smith and Patty Shaw. And so how perfect for that is that you're going to get the truth leaking through when you hang out with that labradorite and the love's enchantment. You get the better pick.
Right. And it's also, I think, helps to protect against illusion and deception, which I think is inherent in that Venus square Neptune. So when Venus is square to Neptune, Jacki, the best thing that I tell people to do is if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If you are if you swiped right on whatever app that you're using and you're talking to this hot, wonderful guy, it may not be as hot as you think it is. Or he may come with a lot of frogs and he may really just be a frog.
Right.
And, but basically that's the way that I tell people to work with that particular type of energy. And also seek clarity in communication with loved ones. It's really the time to ask them.
What did you mean by that? What did you mean by that?
Exactly. What did you mean by that?
Where is this coming from? Can you give me some background information? All those things.
Yeah, because there's the tendency for somebody to say, they meet some guy and the guy says, "Oh, I really like you." And they walk away from it. "Oh, he really wants me. I'm getting married next week. Let me go get my copies of Bride magazine." And then 2 weeks later, they're depressed because, he hasn't called her since.
Okay. Sunday, November 10th.
The moon is in Pisces.
Okay.
This is, interestingly enough, it's emotional. And one of the things that I wanted to briefly mention is that, and this is probably going to shock some people, the curse of empathy. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, you can lose yourself.
Empathy is great to have, but I think it can also control our actions and our behaviors, especially if you do not have a strong sense of who you are as an individual.
Yeah, when you don't have that strong sense of self, it can become weaponized against you.
Right. And, it's great to be able to feel the emotions and feelings of others. I did a session with Jacki's sister
a million years ago.
12 years ago. And she was helping me with an issue that I had. Most people know that I have social phobic disorder, so I don't have a problem talking about it. And, as Jacki will tell you, I've actively worked on this to an extreme over the last 12 years. And at that particular point, I was having difficulty even leaving my house. And when I worked with Patty, one of the things that she said is she says, "Storm, the issue and difficulty here is that you're an empath." And I said, "I have a damn moon in Capricorn. I'm not really all that empathetic." She says, "No, you're so empathic that you're protecting yourself from the emotions and feelings of everybody else around you and have shut down." So the curse of empathy is, and most people want to see.
I'm sorry, I was just processing everything you said, and it took me a second going.
Yeah, that's, I just shut down and didn't want to deal with, I could deal with emotions in my contained space. It was difficult for me to deal with the emotions and I would get overwhelmed with them going to the grocery store. And a lot of this had to do with stuff that went on before that. And being thrown way too young into an entertainment industry. So the curse of empathy is very, very strong, I think, with most people. And I think that the other thing, Jacki, I think that people do with it is they use it as a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I can't help it. I'm so empathic. I can't leave this relationship because I'm so empathic." And as a result of it, Jacki, I think that they have a difficulty putting up boundaries. And one of the things that I think about boundaries is that a lot of people think of boundaries in a pejorative sort of way, that it's this, "Oh my God, I'm going to do this and then my relationship is going to end." And a lot of people are afraid to put down boundaries, Jacki, because they're afraid that their relationship is going to end. And I think to myself, okay,
codependence.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, that is codependency. But also there's this. Boundaries really are me saying to somebody else, I value this relationship and I want to keep it, but this is what I need.
Mm-hmm. Boundaries are a way of making sure that you maintain your own resources so
Mm-hmm.
you can be of service when it's time to be.
And I was talking to a client yesterday, and when I was talking to that client, she was going on about how difficult it was for her to put up boundaries because she was afraid the guy was going away and all this other stuff. And I just said, hold on for a second here. Hold on. If you don't put up these boundaries, you're going to continue to be unhappy. And if you're going to be unhappy, what's the point? And when I said it to her in that way, she got it. I could see the light bulb going off over the top of her head. She got it, and hopefully she acts on it because she desperately needs them. But yeah, this is a day to set very, very firm boundaries, to carve out time for self-care, to do you, and to use this to channel your emotions into creative projects, but avoid overextending yourself emotionally, which is why the candle recommendation is do you. And if there is one Astro Magic candle that I think everybody should order every single month, it's at least one do you.
Now, explain. Somebody asked me the other day, what does that mean? The moon do you? They're like, I don't even understand this. So explain. I had my explanation, but bring your explanation to the table for all of us.
Because, well, when we went to name these particular candles, we did it for two reasons. We wanted them to be expressive because I'm just going to be frank to people. Marketing wise, just to call something the moon is not going to sell. It's going to sit there like every zodiac candle that's sitting on a shelf. It's just going to stay there. Okay. The moon has to do with getting into our body and accessing our own emotions and our own feelings and our own sense of this is who I am at its core. And do you is basically more of an affirmation in regards to getting the individual focused on what it is that they need the most. Because if you can't do you, you also can't do anybody else. And to go back to, and Jacki will love this because it's right down her aisle. If you can't pleasure yourself, how are you going to pleasure somebody else? Or how are you going to tell somebody else to pleasure you?
Yeah. You have to be able to speak up.
Right. And that particular candle does all of that.
And the stone.
What's your reason?
Okay. So going back to the do you is about valuing yourself. It is getting out of the shoulds, deprogramming you from all of the should expectations that society and family and obligation, responsibility puts on you, so that you can dive into your emotional footprint, your emotional frame, and say, what is it that I really love? What is it that I really value? Because values are really tied to your emotions, and then start doing that and being that.
Right. I also, with the do you candle, I think that it is one of the ones also, like I talked about earlier, with dressing planets up in the sign that they're in, Jacki, I will often dress the do you candle with another candle. Okay. My favorite one to dress do you with is, before it was called just stability, the stability candle was called stability self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And I use those two together frequently, because I just like the general way that the two energies make me feel.
That is a great combination.
Right. The stone, moonstone.
Of course, moonstone. It's the moon. And it's also the moon in Pisces, so that's very...
Right.
Very
now, you
loving.
wanted to circle back before we close to Venus in square to Neptune?
Well, so that ideal. I've been doing a lot of personal work and inner work during this time of evolution.
God has bless you.
In our industry.
God has bless you.
Yeah. This evolution that's happening in the spiritual industry and the retail industry. So I've been doing a lot of hey, what do I need to do with soul searching, energy work, etc. And what's interesting is just the other day I was working on connecting with a larger vision, a larger ideal. So going back to your meaning of ideal is not what's happening. It's beyond what's really happening. What did you say? Restate that for me.
Idealization is believing that something is perfect or better than it really is.
Okay. So to create an ideal, to create a big picture, like in 3 years, I'm going to be on a cruise doing this and that in this house, whatever it is. So you paint this giant picture 3 years from now. And it's ideal, but knowing that this huge, big, hairy, audacious, ideal goal that you're putting out there is a giant container for you to manifest into. If you don't have the creative thoughts to say this could be even bigger than what's going on right now, you can never manifest more. And that's the purpose of having these big goals, these big, I'm going to be a billionaire, but it's not just saying, it's not just stating it, it's feeling it, like feeling that this is possible and imagining yourself as that ideal, knowing that you may not get there, but without this huge imagination, you can't even get beyond where you are. So when you're creating this big ideal, this big goal, this 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now kind of vision for yourself, you're creating a container for what's really going to manifest to be in. And if the container's too small, like a beta fish, if it's too small, it can't grow.
There was an interesting book that kind of goes along with that type of thinking. It was an old book. It was called by Florence Scovel Shinn, called The Game of Life and How to Play It.
Okay.
The old book. And basically the premise of the book, Jacki, was it was a big, huge, gigantic acting as if book. In other words, if you want to be a billionaire, you needed to act like a billionaire. If you wanted to be a scientist, you needed to act like a scientist. If you needed to act as if you're already wealthy, if you want to be wealthy. And, the surprising thing about it is that when you become wealthy, that's when you're the most focused on money and the most focused on preservation of money that you've ever seen. A lot of people idealistically look at being a billionaire, Jacki, and they say, oh my God, I'll be able to buy whatever I want. Yay. No. Now you're going to have a lot more responsibilities than you ever had before.
Right. Yeah.
And then
so
you
if
have
you're
to
going to
ask
act
yourself,
as if you got to find out how that, not your fantasy of how that person acts, but actually how they act.
Right. So that goes perfectly in square with that, or perfectly in regards to that Venus in square to Neptune type of energy. It's not only having that idealization. Idealization is fine. How do you bring that into reality? And are you using idealization more as a sense of escapism? Because I also believe that a lot of people that idealize and have these wild dreams, and of course, remember I have a moon in Capricorn, so I'm a curmudgeon at times. They have kind of like a publisher's clearinghouse mentality, Jacki. It's tomorrow when I win publisher's clearinghouse, life is going to be wonderful. Tomorrow, everything has to do with tomorrow. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Get into today.
Are you talking about Sagittarians? What's going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, because
I know you own one.
You can't cash that check of the big vision of the idealism or the ideal. You can't cash that check.
And if you do, it's going to bounce.
Nor can you spend as if you can cash that check. But to have the vision of, I can get here, things can happen so I can get here where I can, be part of the Hollywood inner circle or whatever it is that you want to be, which doesn't sound fun, to be honest with you. But here we are at the end of another show. We're done. Hey, by the way, if you hadn't followed this earlier in the opening of the show, this show is sponsored by Coventry Creations, where whatever your issue is, whatever the everyday problem is that has been bothering you, we can help you solve it.
Yeah, we definitely have a candle for that.
Yeah.
No matter what your problem is, we have a candle for that. Jacki, where can people find you?
You can find me at CoventryCreations.com, but you can also find me on all the socials for Coventry, which would be Coventry Creations or Coventry Candles. You can find me anywhere there. And where can we find you?
You can find me at Storm Sestavani everywhere except Facebook. At Facebook, I'm facebook.com/Astro Gossip, because I like to talk about astrology and I like to talk about a lot. So cruise on over. We talk about it every day. I'm always posting something every single day. And we also have a calendar. So in the show notes, you will find a link to the calendar if you want to add that so that you can get our daily updates, because I'm all about the daily.
And it just, you subscribe to it and it shows up in your own calendar.
Nice. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
so
wonderful.
You don't have to like go outside of your norm to go look for it. So wherever you keep your calendar nice and neat and tidy or messy, you can have your curse breaker astrology right there.
Absolutely. And what do they need to do before they speak to us again, Jacki? Or listen to us again?
Every day. Keep it magic, my friends.
Speak life, everybody.